Welcome to our pod. And by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now, we are cycling through Legendborn, and we are doing the second third of Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. But before we get into it,
I never know where to do the whisper part now because it's too much to say, like cycling through Legendborn.
You could just do cycling.
I guess I could. Yeah, I never thought of that.
Sucks.
I want to punch.
So many times. And like there are sometimes we'll get into it, but there are sometimes where I'm like, Sal, please don't make me like feel things for Nick, because like no, I don't care about either of you. But
yeah,
before we get into it, Laura, I want to talk about Miley Cyrus.
We were already talking about Miley Cyrus, and Hannah was like, let's stop talking. We need to start recording because I want to talk about this on the pod. So here we are.
So, because we were talking about Miley Cyrus's performance, because we were talking about some random things, but we were talking about her comment at the Grammys that she wasn't wearing any underwear. And then Laura was like, well, she did say later, like, I do have underwear on. Please don't at me.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how, like, dude, I really like Miley Cyrus. I was actually
great.
like, I remember when I was younger, I was way too old to be watching Hannah Montana, and I still did it.
I never really got on the Hannah Montana train. Like, I feel like I watched maybe a little of it, but I never watched a ton.
Right.
And so I kind of missed that whole thing, but I definitely knew of like her music for sure. And she was always on my radar. And I've just grown to really like her a lot.
There was like a period where I was like, during her bangers era, she wasn't my favorite. But like, I do think
she liked her then.
She is someone who like grew up in the public eye and kind of like leveled out and was like, yeah, that was me as a child. And guess what? You get to be a stupid child sometimes.
Well, and also I think she's been very upfront about the fact, like, yeah, this is a really strange way to grow up. And obviously I was going to do weird things and have a weird life because this is a weird way to live.
But like, I'm so glad she got her like, and we're talking about like at the Grammys, she just kind of has this vibe of an actual like old school rock star.
Yes.
And like I love her music. I think she has a great voice, and she was just so excited to win a Grammy. Like you could tell she's just kind of very,
she seems really genuine, honestly.
Yeah. And I like her. I was watching a like video where she was like breaking down her different fashion eras and everything. And there was one of her like walking with like Taylor Swift, Selena Gomez, and like someone else, and they're all dressed up in dresses, and she's like in jeans and like a vest.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, guys, this is a video that shows that I was definitely the bisexual in the room. Just like, it's so amazing. And I really like Miley Cyrus.
I do too.
And her music video, Flowers, do you know the like tea on that?
No.
Where
I like that music video a lot too.
Okay, so you love her music video. It's a great music video. There is a lot of rumors in Hollywood that the place she recorded it was the place like her husband went to like have affairs while they were married.
No way. That's where the Hemsworth was going?
Yeah, that's where he was going to like have these affairs. And so she was like, oh yeah, this song about how like I don't need you anymore, and the song we had, like I'm going to debunk it. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that at your affair house.
Ultimate respect.
Right? And it's like, okay, like go off. I love her so much. And I love like, it's always sad when I know that when they were getting divorced, she got a lot of flack where it's like, oh, all of a sudden
people were blaming it all on her. And I'm just like, what the heck?
Well, no, it's all about how like, well, she was wild. And I remember at the time I was like, it sounds like both of them, they knew they were in trouble, and they were like, oh, we're going to go like try to have an open marriage or something, or like go away from each other for a while. And then she did, and then he got mad about it. Like that was always the sense I got. So it was really weird when everyone started blaming her. And obviously, like these are two celebrities. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
We don't know the situation. This is all speculation.
But there were certain red flags in the way the media was covering it versus
I mean, there were red flags from the beginning. And she even said that because I think there's a quote that's been going around recently where she was like, yeah, I married the first person I had sex with or whatever. And people were like, uh-oh.
Like, yeah, that sounds not great. And it sounds like when you get divorced, like, hey, guess what happens afterwards? You're going to like sow a few wild oats or like have some fun. So I just really like her. I like that she's like stuck up for her mom. That's pretty great. Like there was like a ton of stuff, like one of her sisters the sister actually do like a couple of her songs, but that's neither here nor there, where it's like, oh, the sister seems to support the dad and like wasn't at their mom's wedding, but like Miley was like the maid of honor, and that's pretty cool and pretty sweet, and she like thanked her mom. So I really like Miley Cyrus.
Me too.
Her godmother is Dolly Parton, and Dolly Parton still loves her, so that tells you something.
Dolly Parton is a saint. Like,
I know.
I don't think Dolly Parton has ever done anything bad in her life.
I really hope not.
Amazing. I just love Dolly Parton. I told you that I listened to her most recent, like maybe not most recent, but one of her more recent autobiographies.
Oh yeah.
And I listened to it on a car ride with my mom, and it was like the most bizarre book because she read it supposedly, but the thing was, it was literally just like if they had asked her one question and then she just was kind of like, well, the thing was at that time you couldn't do this or that, and then what I actually said, but well, actually it was kind of more like this. I'm like, there's no way this book is written like that. This is just her speaking. They said, we'd like to record you reading your book. And she totally did not read the book, just went off. Like, there's no way they could have written it like that.
They said that also happened in like Leslie Jones' like autobiography. Like Leslie Jones wrote a book and she just went off on tangents. And they're like, guys, the actual book is like 300 pages and Leslie Jones' like audiobook is like 15 hours. Like, it's astronomically too long for what the book was.
Yeah.
And she'll just like,
I believe that's what happened with Dolly Parton's too, because it's like there's no way that this is the book, because who's gonna write that? Like, who's gonna just say, well, actually, I think what happened is like, no,
Dolly, come on, honey,
get back to reading.
You can do this. We believe in you. Those are random tangent on Miley Cyrus, but Laura, besides
also there
Miley,
was like a lot of like talk about like her hairstyle and everything. People were commenting. I'm like, I thought she looked great. Like, I loved it.
Again, it was very like 70s, 80s rocker vibe. Yes. She looked amazing.
Yes, the hair like kind of coiffed up, like I loved it. And then I'm honestly one of these people that like anytime I see her doing any kind of like workout type things or whatever, I'm just fascinated because she's in phenomenal shape. Like, there's that video of her running and singing.
Oh my gosh.
Immensely jealous of, because like when I go on walks sometimes I can't even speak because of breath. So the fact that
sometimes
she can like full talking,
we get out of breath.
Yeah. I know, I'm just sitting here and sometimes I'll get so excited about what I'm talking about that I get out of breath from excitement.
Exactly.
But she can full out sprint on a treadmill and run and sing. Right. And it's like, oh my gosh, she has a phenomenal amount of,
I will say,
lung capacity.
Obviously, you have to always be careful of idols. Like, knowing what we know now, we're huge Miley Cyrus fans. But she seems great. I will say the one thing
like that
I wish she sometimes wouldn't do, and this is such a nitpick, and there's nothing against her because we all grew up in a horrifying era of like diet culture. But sometimes she does the skinny girl pose with her faces where she like tries to suck her cheeks in. And I'm like, don't do that. You are beautiful. It makes you look like a little bit older than you are. And like, you don't need to, but that's like the one nitpick. And that's because I stalk her on Instagram, guys. So like,
okay, I don't have her on Instagram, but
yeah,
I'm always kind of impressed by, because she's like super toned and everything. I'm like, wow, like she's in amazing. Great shape, and the way that she can sing. I mean, yeah, but I'm just like the way that she can sing, like all that lung capacity, like holy crap, that's amazing to me. Also, so Lizzo can do the same thing. So I know, running on a treadmill and
that's true,
singing like that. So it's.
Lizzo is incredibly in shape and people are just fat phobic. So,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But Laura, what else are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So actually, a group that I'm in on Instagram, we've been like, it's been kind of like an online book club, but then one of the members was like kind of bummed, I think, that his suggestion didn't get picked for the month, so he reached out to a bunch of other people and was like, hey, I'd really like to read this book, would you guys be interested in reading it with me, like a buddy read? So it's like kind of a branch off book he formed just because he really wanted to read this book.
I love that.
And I didn't really know anything about the book at all. I was just like, oh sure, whatever, I can get the audiobook easily, so that sounds fine. And it's Tom Lake by Ann Patchett.
Oh, yeah.
Was the book. And I've never read any Ann Patchett before, but this was one that was, I listened to the audiobook. It was performed by Meryl Streep. And Meryl Streep did an excellent job with this book. Like, superb. And I honestly think that that improved my overall opinion of the book. If I would have read the print version or the ebook, I maybe would have gone 4 stars, maybe even 3. But I gave this book 5 stars because I just so appreciated the reading of this. And it was like I kept wanting to go back to it and listen to it throughout my day when I was if I'd had to stop for something. I was like, I'd rather be reading than doing whatever else I'm doing because it was just such a great audiobook. Like I cannot recommend it enough. But the
Wait,
story was also very good. It was about a family during 2020, during like the height of the pandemic when everyone was sheltering in place. This family that lives in Michigan has a cherry farm. Their daughters come home to shelter in place on the cherry farm, and
okay.
they ask their mom to tell them the story of her uh, previous experience growing up and how she used to date a now famous actor.
Okay.
So when she was younger, she used to date this actor who is now famous. And so
Mm-hmm.
they ask about that time in her life. And it's a story that's kind of, the book is kind of back and forth between the story and what's happening in their real life. It is a slow paced book, but there's really a lot of depth to it. And I just really appreciated the way that the relationships between mother and daughter were portrayed in the present day. And also just following this young woman, like the mother telling the story of her being a young woman
Mm-hmm.
and her even recognizing, like, as an older woman, like, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes. I can't believe I did that. And looking back on
Yeah.
this now, like, that was stupid of me. I can't believe that I was doing this or doing that. Yep,
Yeah.
boys make you do crazy things and
Right.
stuff like that. So it was really a fun book, and I would highly recommend the audiobook if anybody's going to listen or read the book at all to listen to it
Mm-hmm.
because I just thought that Meryl Streep did a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job.
I think you had also tried The Dutch House, but you didn't love that Tom
I
Hanks had
didn't
read
love
it.
Tom Hanks,
Okay.
honestly. I
Because
started
you
it
were
and I
like,
was
this
just
is
like,
my first Ann Patchett. And I was like, I thought you quit The Dutch House because you couldn't stand Tom
this is the
Hanks.
only one I only did a little bit of the Dutch House because I was just like,
Okay.
I can't do the Tom Hanks. But Meryl Streep, I'm all in on that
Okay.
celebrity reading. But
That's good. I was just gonna
I
check. So I was like, well, maybe she forgets that those are both the same author. Or
I did not forget, but I'm not
okay,
counting that one honestly
that's
because I did
fair.
not even get that far. I don't really remember what it's about.
I
But
mean,
I
it's
know
about a
that I
Dutch house.
okay. But I know that I was like, yeah, I can't do this audiobook, so I'm gonna just if I try it again, I'll do the print version or ebook because Tom Hanks wasn't working for me.
That is fair enough. I've read 2 Ann Patchett novels, one via audiobook by Tom Hank. He gets his
Mhm.
S back when he makes better projects, according to the Bechtel cast.
Well, and
Uh
that audiobook is proof for me. So
oh, he's down to Tom Ha.
Tom Ha.
Tom Ha.
Ha ha.
I also read Commonwealth when it first came out, which
Oh,
was like
okay.
a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very
That's the one with
she's
like the oranges on the cover, I believe.
yes, yes. She's very good at like I feel like she does a lot of like tangential to a blind Roman, which is like one that usually spans someone's lifetime, but she does it
Hmm.
more through like a family era type thing.
Yep.
She's very interested in families and complications and like over decades long.
Yep.
That's like her sweet
That
spot.
makes sense.
So
Honestly, it feels like she is very much the type of person that loves a lit fic type movie
yes.
where it's like someone's sitting down and there's a flashback and
Mm-hmm.
then it goes back to the present and they're like, Grandpa, why'd you stop telling the story? And she's like, well, let me get back to it. You see, in
Right.
those days it was different. And that's just how it feels to me. But I really
Back
enjoyed
in
it.
my day, I walked uphill both
Yeah,
ways.
well, that's
And like,
kind of how it feels. And
yeah,
you start zooming in from wherever you were over the dirt road
beautiful.
and like, oh, here we are. Here's the
That's
farm. But
perfect.
yeah, it was really good. And I was kind of, I think a lot of people with Tom Lake, at least this was the impression that I got from this group that was reading it as a buddy read on Instagram. People either loved it or they did not like it at all.
Yeah.
There was really no middle ground because
Okay.
most of the group, well, not most of the group, but it was divided pretty much. But the ones who did not like it, they were just like, this is really boring. I'm not connecting with any of the characters. I just don't get it. And the ones that were like, I love this. I think this is great. I I think we were like all kind of very much involved, but I also kind of wonder, I don't know the age groups I don't know the different ages of everyone that's in this group, but I
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to say that the people who maybe didn't connect as much were younger. Like, this is
Yeah.
mean of me to say, but I feel like people
No, I
in
don't.
their
I think that
early
that's fair.
20s maybe wouldn't have the same type of connection to this because they're kind of in some of these moments themselves, you know what I mean? Where it's like they're
Right.
still kind of making a lot of these decisions and living out a lot of these moments, and they don't see things the way that you see them as you're an older adult looking
Yes.
back on your life previously, you know? So I kind of wonder if maybe it's something to be enjoyed more by an older audience who
Mm-hmm.
can look back fondly on your younger self.
That's very fair. Well, good recommendation.
Yeah.
I like the two books that I read by her, so I do think that they are more lit
I'm
fic.
definitely gonna give them a shot because I am a lit fic girly and I really like that one
I
a
own a
lot.
copy of The Dutch House, so I can bring that to you
I have the
sometime.
ebook
Okay,
actually,
fair.
but I just always push it off because
There's
I
always
have so
something
many
else to
things.
read.
Like such a mood reader, just
Yeah, that's
terrible,
fair.
terrible, terrible. I finished The Hobbit also
Oh my
because I was listening
gosh.
to it like to go to sleep, and then I just got so absorbed in it that I was just like, I can't not finish this right now.
Fair.
So I might restart it even because I've got some time until my next credit appears on Libro. But I I can't say enough good things about Andy Serkis and what he did for the Hobbit narration. Like, it's phenomenal. I even put it on like my personal Instagram, and I rarely post to my personal social medias, but I even put it on there. Like, if anyone's looking for an audiobook, like, this is possibly the best audiobook I've ever listened to. Like,
Yeah.
highly recommend. It's phenomenal. And because I was enjoying it so much, my husband and I then watched all three Hobbit movies and they were a lot of fun. And
Oh, good.
it was kind of cool to see because like I have seen them multiple times. I saw them multiple times in theaters, and my husband had not seen any of them, but he was like really getting into them, and he's reading The Fellowship right now and he's liking it. And so it's kind of neat to watch him have kind of a shared interest with me,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, where it's like this is something that I've liked for a really long time, and it's cool to kind of see him be introduced to this and have questions about it, and then me be like, oh well, actually that's and so it's been kind of fun to do that. So
That's fun. I like that.
yeah, so those are what I've been reading, watching, and watching. I haven't been really doing a ton of TV
Oh
recently this past
my
week, so
gosh. Crazy.
shock,
I know. I'm shocked, Laura.
shock.
Shock.
So Hannah,
Just crazy.
what's up on your list?
So for reading, I did listen to the audiobook The Jade Setter of John Loon by Fonda Lee.
Yay, I have that one. Should I move it up
You
on
should,
my
because
list?
it's
Okay.
so fun. I love
Okay, good.
Fonda. Fonda's the greatest. We
Hannah,
both are obsessed
I
with her.
adore
It's
you,
fine.
and I kind of want to like be Fonda Lee when I grow up. Like,
I
she's
know.
so amazing,
She's so cool.
and exactly just cool. Like,
Yeah.
she's cool, she is funny, she has such a good sense of humor, and she's so smart. And, oh gosh.
And so I just really enjoyed it. It was on Hoopla, and I was like, do I want
Hmm.
to read this? Yes, I do. And then I was
Yeah.
also listening to Braiding
Well, it's like
Sweetgrass.
a
So, like,
novella, I think,
yeah,
isn't
it's a
it?
novella. Yeah, it's a very small novella. It's tons of fun. It's kind of like a mystery of like what's going on, what's going to
Hmm.
happen next.
Okay.
And I like it because it's a little bit earlier in like the green, like the placement is like right um when oh my gosh, some names are
Is
failing
it a
me.
prequel or is it
It's a prequel technically because it's
to Jade City? It's a
right
prequel to
when
Jade City. Okay.
it's right when Lon becomes the pillar.
Okay.
Um and so he's like, coming into his own. It's also around the time when Aitmata is coming into control as well. So
Hmm.
it's like them at the beginning, kind of
Okay, I
seeing
dig
where
that.
all and like it's since it's before their beginnings, like all the Jade groups or families, different families have their own distinctive personalities in a way that
Hmm.
we didn't get to see in the original like trilogy because they had all kind of
Hmm.
conglomerated by then. Uh so it was really fun to read. I really liked it. I thought it was a good novella. I think sometimes when you have these, it's like these can technically sometimes feel like a cash grab, but this felt
Well, I
different
was gonna
enough where
say,
I'm like,
I feel
yeah,
like
this
this
just
is
feels
maybe
like
more of like a fan service thing where it's like
mhm.
people probably were like, Fonda, give us more of the Greenbone saga. And she was like, oh, I'm kind of done with that chapter, but you know what? Here's a little nugget.
And it was really fun because it kind of opened up like the world of the green bones a little bit
Hmm.
more, where we got to hear more about like what it takes to be a jade setter, because you have to have
Yeah.
like different abilities, and like we got to see some people who like weren't as powerful and like stories through their eyes, and I just really enjoyed all that. I thought it was a ton of fun,
Yeah.
and it was like really shocking, and so yeah, I loved it.
So Jade
Great
Setter of
audio.
John Loon is the one that you read.
Yes, the Jade Setter of John Loon.
Because there's another one that,
Oh,
if I'm remembering, it's also a novella, but I think it's 4 stories.
okay.
I'm
um
trying to remember what that one is, and I'll
Let me
just look
look
it
up
up
Fonda
because
Lee. I want to read some of her other ones. Like a lot of her other ones are up
yeah,
on
like
like
EXO
Hoopla.
and
Yes, exactly. I want to
yeah,
listen to
I have those
EXO
saved
and
as well, and I have to be in like the right headspace, honestly, to have multiple fantasy things going at the same time.
same. Oh my
It's hard
gosh.
for me to do too many fantasy at once.
So I've been struggling. I'm so
Jade
glad you brought this
shards,
up.
jade
Okay, Jade
shards.
Charts. I do recognize that name. I have been struggling because right now I am like so close. I'm like like 150 pages. No, I think I'm like 100 pages away from
Mhm.
finishing He Who Drowned the World, which is a
Okay.
duology, and the
Yep.
second to one we
She
both
Who
read,
Became the Sun.
She Who Became the Sun.
I've been
Those are
so wanting to get that.
it's so good, Laura. But reading it while you're reading Legendborn is like
Yeah.
trying to like hit your head with like different needles to
Yeah.
like get them to pay attention to certain things. Like it took
Mm-mm.
so long to get into this book. It was really hard because like She Who Became the Sun is such an epic fantasy. You and I
Yes.
are not exactly epic fantasy girlies.
Hmm.
So like some of the stuff I was reading and I was like, who was this? And I'm like, I'll figure it out. And I would just
Yeah.
like move on and be like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And like there's so many different moving parts. And I feel like we talked about this small spoilers for She Who Became the Sun, not really like a spoiler, but like
Okay.
a huge part of that was people who could get the mandate of heaven, and it was like this
Hmm.
power where you
Hmm.
could see ghosts and you could like bring fire forth,
Hmm.
and like the whole purpose of it was if you could get the mandate of heaven, you could have potential to become the next emperor of like the universe that they're in, pretty much not universe
Okay.
but the world that they
The
are
the
on,
world that they're
the
in.
continent that they are on. And I remember reading She Who Became the Sun and not knowing what the mandate was until like the end of the book.
Yeah, I also
Being
remember
like,
that.
yeah, I was like, what are we talking
It's like, oh,
about?
that was the thing? Okay.
That was, oh, I guess you like sprinkled it in. And then in the next book, like that's all anyone can talk about. And there's so many like
Hmm.
battle scenes. And you know me with battle scenes where I'm like,
You're like,
Hannah,
tap out.
focus. This is so important to the story. And like it's
Yeah.
gonna happen a lot. And so there are so many moments where I'm like, you've got to pay attention. And it's so difficult. Like I liked this book so much.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a 5-star. Shelley Parker Chan, they're amazing. They're so
Hmm.
good. It's the kind of epic I want to see like in the world. It's queer, it's different, it's like it has
Yeah.
different things, but it like and there are just some parts of it where I remember I was talking to someone and like I was talking about like, oh, there's a scene in it that I don't really like. I'm like, why am I reading it and why is it so detailed? And then I remember like certain parts of the first book and I'm like, why am I shocked by this? Like
Yeah.
I should have expected it. Like
Yeah.
Hannah, come on. So I'm glad you mentioned like sometimes multiple fantasies, like it's just so hard
Here's my thing. I
to
have no problem reading multiple books at the same time. I
yeah.
cannot read multiple books within the same genre
Mhm.
unless they are extremely different.
Well,
Like I could listen to The Hobbit and also read Legendborn, but The Hobbit I have read so many times that I don't even have to really tune in.
right,
And
exactly.
it's completely different from Legendborn. But if it's a book, like if I were to jump into another fantasy alongside doing this, I really need to be focused
Yeah.
because I have to pay
And I read
attention to know
so
what's going
like
on.
I had it from NetGalley. I had He Who Drowned the World from NetGalley for like
Hmm.
months. And I was just like, you should read it. You should read it. And it's been out for months now. And
Hmm.
I finally got around to it. And I'm just like, it's just so much. Like it's
Yeah.
so much. It's so good. It's so good, guys. Like everyone should go read it. Go read this duology. It's fantastic, especially if you love fantasy. Read He Who Drowned the World and
Hmm.
She Who
I
Became
still
the
think
Sun.
about like the beginning of She Who Became the Sun. Like
So
the
good.
beginning of that book is kind of crushing to me, and I love everything about it.
I know. And like there are so I just love the way like Shelley Parker Chan talks about like gender
Hmm.
and like plays around with it in different ways
Yep.
and talks about like caring and like romantic versus like spiritual. They're
Well, and also just
amazing as
like
an
sense
author.
of duty
Yes.
and responsibility,
And like
and I love that.
a friendship in the book is so amazing that you just want to root for it at all times. And I will say, like, the one thing I like, the one criticism I have for this book is it takes like a pretty important character in the first book and like sidelines them in a way that I'm like, they're pretty important and I wish you hadn't taken them out. I understand why, but like they were a great character and you like didn't focus in on them at all. So that sucks.
Yeah, that stinks.
But I really like it. I like that like Shelley Parker Chan is someone who will like take a character who you're rooting for, but also make them the worst. And you're like, why do I like you? I'm so mad at myself. And it makes you question everything.
Love those.
I know. And so it's so good. But like it was really difficult reading Legendborn and this book at the same time. And I kept having moments where I'm like, I'm so in the mood to find out what happens, and I cannot bring myself to pick up this book. So I need a brain break from a fantasy. It's going to have to be a lit fic or some kind of other book after this, because
honestly, lit fic and romance are like palate cleansers for me, where it's just I can't do thrillers. I just don't like them very much. But if any kind of lit fic, especially one that's going to like hit my heartstrings, like I am a lit fic girly always. And I do enjoy a good romance.
For reading, watching, and or enjoying, I went to the movies and I saw Wonka, and Wonka was fine.
That's what I kind of figured.
It's not, I just like, I don't know, I'm kind of sick of seeing Timothée Chalamet. Like I had to see him in a Dune 2 like upcoming one, and I know we're gonna have to cover that for the podcast.
Absolutely.
Laura's gonna make
saw Dune 2 already? How did you see it?
No. I saw a preview for Dune 2 and
everyone saw
it. Like I know, but like I've actually been avoiding it. And then we went and saw Wonka, but of course they were like, Wonka, this child musical with Timothée Chalamet. Of course you have to watch also Timothée Chalamet and sci-fi. I'm like, no, I didn't need to watch him in that.
This makes me laugh because it's just like our journeys with Dune. Like Hannah has further pursued into the negative with Dune, where it's like anytime you encounter any kind of Dune material at all, you're just like, why? And I'm still progressing in the opposite way. Like we're on one of those lines.
I know.
And you're going into the negative with your feelings about Dune, and I'm still progressing into the positive. And it's funny because this reaction to that trailer is even proof of that to me.
It's just like, it's annoying to me and I don't want to talk about it anymore, but like, you know, it's fine. I'm
not gonna make you cover it.
I mean, it's fine. It's good for the podcast and I can deal with it, but
we're not covering it then, because I'm not making you cover something that you're not enthusiastic about. That's not happening.
I mean, I made you cover Kissing the Coronavirus, so it's fair.
I was the one who suggested that, so
it'll be fine. I will watch it because I feel like it's, you know, it's sci-fi. I should like it. And I didn't hate the first Dune. I gave it 3 stars, but I feel like I'm just like burnt out on it. Because again, Timothée Chalamet, didn't need to see him in that movie. I just think we're like having certain actors and actresses where like
some were like pushing too hard, and it's like, let's get some other people in the mix here.
I freaking love Zendaya, but like I don't need her in every single like thing.
Popular thing.
Yeah. So, and like Florence Pugh is in this next one, and like
I think it's a thing where it's like we're in a state where if an actor does really well in one property, all the other properties are like, you know who we need? Zendaya.
Yeah.
Or they're like, you know who we need? Sydney Sweeney, because she's in everything right now. And it's like, okay,
and
of course we need them.
Are in a capitalistic
nightmare. Not talented, but
no. But it's because we're in a capitalistic nightmare where like you need to make sure that you have budgeting. And so the only way to do that is to get an already like proven star. Yeah. And like I don't,
but it creates burnout for viewers.
Yeah, and I'm just like kind of sick of it. So I don't really need to see Florence Pugh play a princess. Like she looks amazing.
Say though, people have been giving Dune 2 like really high reviews before it's come out. Like people are saying like this is really good. Like I saw somebody on Twitter that compared it like to Emperor Strikes Back level of sequel, and I was like, well, that's pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
I thought that the first one was a pretty faithful adaptation.
Yes,
and very well done. So
it was a very well done adaptation.
I agree with The Empire Strikes Back being an excellent sequel. So if they're comparing it to like that level of sequel, I'm like, that has to be pretty good. So We'll
That's
see. And
fair.
there's obviously going to be more Zendaya in this, so
Yeah.
that's good too.
I know. I do like Zendaya.
Because like in the first one, she was
She
hardly
was
in
barely
that.
in it. Yeah. Um, and I'm interested to see what they do with different things that aren't, made out of 1950.
Also, there's like a lot of actors in that movie specifically that are like super popular at the moment, like Rebecca Ferguson. She's
Yeah.
in several like Apple TV things. Like so many of those actors in there, they're just like Jason Momoa, like Oscar Isaacs. They were just like in a bunch of things where
Yes.
it's just like, okay, could we get somebody, Stellan
Get
Skarsgård, like get some other
anybody
people
else.
in here to play
Stellan
some of these roles.
Skarsgård in a freaking fat suit. Like,
Stellan Skarsgård, if you watch Andor, that guy has so much depth. Why are they holding him back with terrible costumes and just, I don't know.
I don't know. I agree wholeheartedly. It'll be
It's a
interesting.
lot
Can't
of
wait.
actors, though, now that you mention that are in that are just in one of those weird trenches of we need them in everything.
Yeah. So I was a little bit burnt out on him anyway. And I just like didn't need to see Timothée Chalamet in a musical.
Yeah.
Where like
I'm kind of over Wonka, honestly. How many of these movies do we have to make?
I mean, we've had 3 and none of them actually, like, literally we were like leaving the theater and I said something about like, oh yeah, like I read the first novel when I was a kid and then I like went to read the second one, but I like got sick of it because I've always been bad at series apparently. And my fiance was like, that's a book series? Like it's not just one? And I was like, well, yeah, it is, but also it's called Charlie Bucket and the Chocolate Factory, like, and Charlie Bucket and the Glass Elevator. Like it's not actually about Willy Wonka. It's mostly about like
Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
it's
and
Charlie.
Charlie
Yeah,
in the Glass Elevator.
Sorry, I gave him his last name. Excuse me.
But like that is his last name, I believe. But it's I think the title is just Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
You are correct. And so like it's not really about Wonka. We just all have an obsession with Wonka.
Yeah. Everybody wants to focus in on like the weird guy that's maybe kind of morally gray.
Yes, but like he's not morally gray in this.
I mean, he's not doing great stuff.
No, but like in this adaptation, he's not really that morally gray.
Oh, really?
Like,
they make him into a happy guy.
He's pretty like, I believe in the good of everyone. And it's like, well, this man is supposed to be not great. And like
that's a big twist from Gene Wilder, because Gene Wilder was almost kind of creepy.
And they definitely that one water him down a lot. Like he's just not really he's not, there's no like hard edge to Wonka. It's just like, because we've watered down kids movies so far where like you can't have, I will say that there were like the evil villains in it were very evil, but like it was a weird adaptation. It kind of had some weird messaging, like very like people who are special deserve to do special things. And I'm like, yes, that is very true. But also we're not really focusing on like some special people don't get to do special things because
of systemic issues in our world.
And it just felt very strange. Like the most evil character is a Black man. And
was it like, Keegan-Michael Key?
No, but he is a character in it. And they had again, a huge story plot point was a fat joke. Like in 2024, like a huge line was like Keegan-Michael Key cannot stop eating chocolate to the point where he gains a fuck ton of weight. And like, obviously this movie isn't like evil or bad. It was fine, but it was just really weird to see that and like see him in a fat suit when he didn't need to be, and it didn't need to be a storyline. Like,
honestly, I saw a musical, I saw all the flashy lights and like Toy Story like Toy Store type looks, and Keegan-Michael Key, and I was like, you know what, I could watch Jingle Jangle on Netflix.
That was actually what I was thinking.
I love Jingle Jangle. So
I watch Jingle Jangle like once a year on Christmas.
Absolutely.
It's like a Christmas
it's a must
Eve
watch
one.
now for Christmas.
I watch it on Christmas Eve when I'm making dinner because like I don't pay attention that much to it. I think you like it more than I do.
The songs are amazing.
But like I will put it on in the background and it's a perfectly pleasant movie to spend 2 hours like having it on. And yeah, Keegan-Michael Key is better in that one than he is like as a cop who is so chocolate addict that he gains 150 pounds in a week. Like it's just
so weird. My speculation was correct. I do not need to go see Wonka. I can just watch Jingle Jangle and enjoy that more.
Yeah. And then like seeing Timothée Chalamet dance, I'm like, okay, I understand that he's a child, and like, well, he's not a child. He's like 25 now, but like
He's only 25? Oh my gosh.
I think so. I think he's a young
Yeah.
kid. He is
Oh
28. That's my bad. He's 28.
Okay.
Like, he's a 28-year-old man, so he's not even a child, so he can take it. He can't dance that well. He's just a guy. He's just a white guy who thought he could dance in high school and had a little bit of rhythm.
Here's the thing. Like, we know all the Timothy Chalamet
ding dong.
Yeah, they're all listening, but his fans are all listening. But is Timothy Chalamet all that we're like cracking him up to be? Because like I think he's okay, but is he that good? Like I feel like some people are just like, oh my gosh, what an amazing actor. I'm like, is he? Did I miss that? Like,
no,
he seemed fine, but
yeah,
was it really just like world shattering? I didn't think so.
No,
even his Dune performance was just like, I really liked that movie, but I was just like, okay, yeah, I don't know that he was like. There could have been another actor that did that just as well.
I describe him as someone who there was like some hullabaloo that he went to an indoor concert and he got caught smoking cigarettes and he refused to put them out when like security asked him to.
Okay.
And I was like, nothing about that story shocks me.
No,
that is the most like straightforward story of Timothy Chalamet I've ever heard, and I believe every word of it. Now he seems
kind of privileged and makes sense.
And he seems a little skeevy. So like, look, he's 28. He has time to grow up and become Miley Cyrus in our minds, but I just don't have as much hope for him.
His SNL performance was not that good either in my mind. I didn't think he was that good.
So sometimes you see a person and you're like, oh, you were popular in high school, so like you never learned how to have a certain kind of presence. He gives me that energy.
Yeah, I get that too.
His sister is in Secret Lives of College Girls.
Interesting.
The Secret Sex Lives of College Girls. And she is like, in that show, she like reeks of like, she's a very pretty woman. She is not like the most beautiful woman you're ever going to see, but she's still pretty enough to be an actress in Hollywood. And she has big boobs and she's not like stick straight thin. And so Mindy Kaling has made that character like, isn't it amazing how many hot guys she has sex with? And it's like, not really. Like, she seems fine. Okay, Mindy Kaling, we know.
Oh, jeez.
So, what are you gonna do? Yeah, but that's kind of what I've been reading, watching, and or enjoying or not enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a mix this week.
Yeah, we've had a mix this week, but should we dive into something we enjoyed much more, which is this book?
Yes.
Outside
the
of the
middle section.
All right. So we left off with Nick potentially being murdered, Sue.
I mean, I don't think that'll happen, but
it might. I don't know.
He seems a little too important to
plot armor.
The plot. That's just like if you're like when I just mentioned watching the Hobbit movie, I remember when I saw them in theaters, like other people who did not know what happened in the Lord of the Rings for some reason, they were a little shocked, like, oh, Gandalf is in trouble. And it's like, no, he's not.
No, he's not.
Got 3 more movies. He's fine.
He's fine. But like, I do love that, like, again, this is a man that this girl has known for a week. Like, she does not know him at all. And it's like,
well, because so now more time has passed, but the amount of time that they spent together, literally a week.
And she's just like, the entire world stops when I find out that Nick
but
died.
They're like, in love.
Sure. Okay.
Love.
And then I like, obviously YA novel. This happens a lot in YA novels, but it's like a bunch of 35-year-old women being like, hey, so like we are leashes and we are here to do your bidding as the king, as a scion of Arthur. So like you have a choice to make. Do you want to go after Nick or do you want to run? And you have to make the choice. We can't make it for you. And I'm like, what? 35-year-old woman is telling a 16-year-old child that is her only option. And no, thank you.
The way that the adults act in this, where it's just like, we cannot listen to anything that any other adults say. We have to trust you, a 16-year-old. Ultimately, if you tell us to walk off the top of this building, we have to do it. And it's like, what?
Which isn't even how a king works.
No.
Kings have people who report
to them. But that's how
it
works in this for some reason, where it's just like, I question the way that this system is set up because so many of them are just like immediately listening to everything that 16-year-olds say. And it's like, why are they the ultimate authority?
And also I keep thinking like, Nick has been out of school for like a month. How is the school like not concerned?
Also, they're not going to school.
Bree went missing.
Bree is gone, and like her dad calls her, and he's like, "How you doing, kiddo?" And she's like, "Good,
haven't talked to you in a week.
Been really busy with exams." And
I'm like, she's 16.
How do you even know if there are exams? Like,
right? Like,
why is nobody checking up that she'd never made it to class?
So, like, we have Jill, who is the person who helped train her in the last book, and then we also have Samira, who is a Black woman, and she was also a liege. So they're all like, "What are you going to do?" And Sel is like, we have to have her run, and she can't do this." And she's like, "Well, I'm going to vote that we have to go after Nick because we have to. There's no other choice." It's just
The way that this is even an argument, though, I was just like, really, like we even have to discuss if we're going to hide or go after Nick. Clearly, we're going after Nick.
I mean, obviously, that's just it's the man. It's her love.
They're in love.
Life. And so it's just a lot of them like hanging around the airplane, like having chit chat moments with each other. I do appreciate that in this book, like Tracy Deonn, it's very important to her to show like Alice supporting Bree in ways other people aren't. So she like brought her a duffel bag filled with her clothes, her hair
with
care
her hair
products,
and
underwear
she, like, and stuff. Like, oh
yeah, and she like braids her hair for her. She'll talk to her about like wash days and everything, and she understands like Bree's background, where everyone else is like,
she
hey.
more so understands her on a level of like, oh, I need to, like, other people are like, we're taking care of you, and it's just like, here's a piece of bread and we're keeping people from killing you. Whereas like Alice actually understands her on like the deeper, I care for you, we've had a long relationship, I know what it means to be someone who helps you to feel better and to be healthy and to maintain some wellness here.
And so she also during this time, Bree falls asleep with the Arthur Pendragon necklace coin that Nick gave to her, and she falls asleep and she sees them. She has a dream of the Knights of the Round Table fighting. Merlin's like flashing. Lancelot like comes up to Arthur after they kind of have a hard battle, and he's like, "You don't seem to care about the people we lost." And Arthur's like, "I know more about them than you ever will. I feel it in my bones." And then she's kind of like, "Why do I keep having to see these things?" And then she's like, "Well, maybe I can control the dream." And she brings Nick forth.
She waited too long to to be like, "Why am I having this dream?"
And then she's like, "Oh, it isn't just view only with me. I can like it." So she stops it, and
which is cool. Because I thought this was just gonna be like a flashback thing at first, and I was like, okay, come on. And then when she mentioned like, oh, I wonder if I can manipulate this dream, I was like, thank the Lord.
Well, and so she does bring Nick forth, and everything kind of freezes while they're talking, and they kind of get to check in with each other, talk about what's going on. She says like they want to come after him because he's not safe and the others are going to try to kill him. And he's like, "Yeah, I kind of figured that out. Like we were almost caught by some mage guards, but Isaac took them out. And since then we've like kept moving. My dad has people on the inside, so we seem to have some intel." He also says that his dad's kind of losing a step, and he just keeps ranting about her and how she ruined everything for his dad, because his dad is like, "How dare she point out that we're no longer the line of Arthur and we weren't born into power? Like, how dare this happen to us?" And it's like, "Okay, sir, calm down." And so she kind of tells him about like, "Well, we got some lieges on our side. I was kidnapped, but I'm okay now." I hate this because like every time she talks to Nick, she's like, "How are you?" And he's like, "I'm not doing well." And then she's like,
and he never asked about her.
I know. And I'm just like, she has to give him a rundown, and she has to be okay with everything. And he's always like, "I'm not doing well. Okay." And it's like, I understand he's kidnapped by his dad, but he also seems to be fine and like just driving around in a car.
He will be fine. They're not going. Again, it's the Gandalf security of it all. He will be fine. And I think that he is just working with an immense amount of privilege that he has any kind of inconvenience, and he's like, "It's terrible."
I know.
And it's like, Bree is going through so much here, and you are not being a supportive friend or boyfriend.
She was literally like, "I was trapped and studied," and he's like, "The Arthur lines take something from us all." And it's like, what the fuck, man?
He's like, "You know what? I'm here with my dad, and he sucks. We got into an argument." Okay. Cool.
And then they share a kissy kiss.
Oh, gosh.
And she's like, oh my gosh, Castro said that we like shouldn't be together. And
Oh
he's
my
like,
gosh. You know what that means? We kissed once. It's incest because of the lie. It's like, no.
And he's kind of like, I guess at one point during this section, like I can't remember if it's this time they see each other or the next, but he's like, did I kiss you? Or is it like me kissing a dead king? He has like a no homo moment. And it's like, my guy, calm down. And every time they kiss, I'm
but
like,
it makes sense.
I'm imagining that it's Arthur and Lancelot kissing because I really like our queer
I kind of like that idea. But...
and so he does talk about the fact that like the regions only care about the lines. They don't really care about the people. So he gets it kind of, but also not. And so
mostly not.
Arthur kind of pulls her back to a plane where he's like, hey, where were you and why were you hijacking my memory? And she's like, oh, I was talking to Lancelot's heir. He's like, what did you guys say? And she's like, oh, good. He doesn't hear any of it. But
it's like she can kind of just like press pause on. He like calls her up like he's gonna impart some kind of grand knowledge on his heir, and she's just like, pause. Don't care about that.
Also
come here, Nick.
She's also hearing different like words going around in her head when she moves these planes. So like when she moves to go talk to Arthur, she hears like Scion, heir, the once and future. But he's kind of like, hey, I want to come forth and like fight and you keep blocking me. So like, could we make a deal that I'll teach you how to use my powers if you like let me out? And she's like, okay, but you don't get to have control over my body because a huge part of
totally
her is,
fair
like, having control and having a say so and stuff.
Yeah, it should be. It should definitely be consensual. Like, what a scary feeling to not have control of your body. And she's still learning so much about her own power and everything that it would be extremely terrifying to not know if you're able to control your power, if you're going to hurt people that you care about. Yeah.
And so she kind of wakes up because she feels her skin tingling, and Sal's there, and he's like, sorry, it was just me. And that is important later.
I'm creepy all the time. Like, okay.
And then she's like, I think I saw Nick. I think I had this dream walk. And I freaking hate Sal because he immediately is like, but are you 100% sure? And it's like, what, whose harm does it have like to listen to her and be like, well, this might give us access to Nick, so let's listen. Like,
Sal in this section, Hannah, is the most frustrating person ever.
So
I was kind of more like, you know what, if there's gonna be an option, I guess Sal, because he's kind of making me laugh a little. In this section, I'm like firmly like, please get rid of all of these boys. Had me
voting for Nick a little bit, and I was like, why am I voting for Nick?
I know.
Like, no.
I was almost throwing out my Team Sal shirt, and I was like, just why?
Team Sal shirt. So, I mean, Sal can change into an owl, and that is pretty cool. We forgot to mention that,
and
we both were reading it.
Shocking.
It's a blink and you'll miss it statement. We posted about it in our Discord, or Laura did, and someone who has been reading the book with us, GJ, they were like, what do you mean he can turn into an owl? I do not remember that. I read this book.
He's turning into an owl? I read this entire book. I'm like, yeah, we totally missed that. And that's why I made that the title. Because I was just like, we didn't mention it, but it's worth mentioning.
So she's like, hey, I'm having these memories of Arthur that, hey, happened to me as someone who is a medium, and it is a power you do not understand. And he's like, you were drugged and mesmered. You probably weren't doing that. And you're like, well, if it's connected to her root magic, they probably don't know how to tape that down. So why wouldn't you believe herself? Because she can't have any authority or any choice that he does not give her. And I hate that. So anyway.
Yeah.
They chit chat about like what it means for him to be chained and linked, and like how he can't really use as much of his power.
Here's the thing. They have so many chats about Sel and Nick. There's so many about the two of them. And there are not enough chats being had about Bree. This is what I took from this section, where it's just like Bree is someone who very much puts others before herself without even realizing it. And I'm reading this and I'm thinking, why are we not focused more on Bree and what her powers are and what she can do and how we can help her? Because we're focusing a little too much on like, is Sel gonna become totally bad? Oh my gosh.
And like,
I'm like, you know what? I don't care at this point. Like, we need to help Bree.
And she asked him so many dumb questions, like, why did you run away? And then why did you come back? And it's like, well, because we're in a middle of a young adult novel,
kind
Brie.
of what it is.
Like,
it's like, why did you and, or there's moments where it's like, I really wanted to ask him, but I didn't.
Like, but I couldn't open that door. And I get it, they're 16, but like there's also just like icky like parts of this that rub me the wrong way. Because she's like, why didn't you tell me that the regents were coming after you? And he's like, well, you know,
I have a lot going on.
And then she's like, we trusted each other once. What happened? And I'm like,
you
two have known each other for a month
and you don't trust me anymore.
And he did try to murder you at one point. So like he keeps bringing it up. You should be thinking about that.
Hey, remember when I tried to murder you? I've been trying to kill you. Oh, by the way, hand me that thing over there. But remember when I tried to kill you? Like, excuse you?
It's just him. Okay, so last book it was him walking into a room and screaming, and now it's just him walking into a room and being like, I'm bad news.
It is
into the distance. Like
it is.
I'm bad news. Like, okay, sir, we get it. Thank you.
Not to mention, like, throughout this time, William and Alice are there as well. And they're both like commenting on the way that Cell is. And Alice is like, you know, that mage guard guy, or that king's guard guy, kind of shitty. Like, looks terrible. And Bree's like, quit talking about the way that he looks. He's sensitive about it.
He's
like,
sensitive about it.
Like, don't say that about him, Alice. Like, come on, have some kind of modicum of respect here for other people's appearance.
He was dehumanized for years, and now he dehumanizes
all right, I guess
me.
so. Like, all right, I guess I forget about
Alice is just walking in being like, this is why I date women. And it's like, yes, Alice, this is why you date women. Like...
But the other thing here, like, remember Alice pointed out his appearance, and this will come up.
And like Will is like, I'm concerned about you. And she's like, why is he so concerned? It's just
how Cell is. Like, it's fine. It's like, no.
Well, and then she's like, well,
please be more concerned.
It was different. I thought we were friends after. And he's like, after what, Brie? And he's like, close. He's so
and he
close
like leans up against her. Well, this isn't the part where he's leaning against her. This is the part where he's like, she's trapped between the counter and him, I think. And he's
that was later on. That's when they're at the safe house. This is while they're in the freaking airplane, and he's just like close, and she's like, a shiver runs down my spine, and like, and he just was like, I was gonna plead guilty because I was guilty because I have bad news, and she's like, but
stares into distance,
and it's like he's like. He keeps bringing up, like, I tried to kill you when I thought you were evil. And she's like, well, you didn't know I was the scion of Arthur, so could you be really guilty? And he's like,
I told you, I forgive you for that. And it's like, stop
forgiving him. He's bad news.
Hold him accountable.
And he was like, I was really negligent. I took my oaths and I broke them. Like, it's not good. And when you break your oaths, like, it's bad news. And so they kind of keep talking about like how the regents are untrustful. They repeat a lot of like what we've just learned.
Yes.
And then they land and they meet Jonas, who's another liege, who's going to be taking them to a safe house so that they can regroup for the night. And before they leave, Bree asked to talk to Samira alone, and she's just kind of like, hey, as two Black women, could we like have a discussion of like, what brought you here, and like
what's this been like for you? Like, this has been really hard for me, and I'm kind of curious like what your experience has been, and I kind of need I need some community here.
And the woman is kind of like, well, I was born in the northern chapter, like my family were vassals, but like it wasn't great for me either. People were really happy to bring me into the conversation until they learned that I could have a powerful seat at the table. And then all of a sudden there was a problem. And she was like, so, you know, but there's also like a little bit of like the people who knew me and knew how hard I worked, they were pretty accepting, but then the others were still bad. And it's like, yeah, that sucks to hear. Mm-hmm. And she also talks about how like Bree did earn her spot a little bit because she has worked. It's just different because like she got promoted to CEO really quick. And Bree is like, yeah, but like it's only because I became CEO out of like pain and suffering and what someone did to my line. And so
is Samira the one that's like, we all know like how you became scion.
And she says, like, the how isn't always important, like, or the how
Yeah.
will never
This is
be
what I was
right,
thinking of.
but the why is still open-ended. And I do like that. Like,
Yes.
this is the position she's in now. And she's like, you know, she's just glad to see that a Black woman is in this type of power position. And that's really good, you know?
And this was the moment in this section where I'm like, okay, I have a really hard time trusting any of these characters. Like, Samira, please do not let me down, because you seem really good so far.
And she's pretty great because she's like, hey, you brought honor to your line. You are learning how to wield Arthur's power. You weren't born into this. Like, this was suddenly given to you.
A lot of people,
they
have to grow up doing this and be trained all this time. So the way that you're just like thrust into this, you're doing amazing.
But then she also mentions that some of her history, her roots run deep, and she gives Bree a crumpled up letter to take with her. So they kind of all head out. They go to the safe house with Jonas. They split up into rooms. Alice goes to shower. Bree tells her all about how she saw Nick in her dreams. Oh
gosh.
But
and
she also,
Alice is like, I never even met this guy, but this sounds kind of weird.
And she talks about how they like kind of gave her some self-defense mechanisms so Alice could help. And this is where Alice is like, hey, Sal's a huge jerk. And he like goes on to treat Alice like, again, like, you can be mistreated by a group of people and it still does not give you the authority to mistreat others.
You
and
don't get to be crappy to other people.
He like calls Alice once-born or like derogatory names. It's just rude.
Yes.
And so
he won't let it go either.
No.
Like, they correct him many times and like, quit doing that. And what does he continue to do? That.
I know. And so she also talks about how like she thinks she can't get mesmered as much anymore because Bree healed
this was
her.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think that that's pretty fun. And so they kind of just keep talking about the right, like what happened to Bree. And this is also where I love Alice, where Alice talks about how they're all kind of indoctrinated because they're taught a certain set of facts and they're taught to keep those as necessary. And like Bree fights against those facts. And so like she's able to figure it out a little bit more, but you can't always like understand.
Yeah, she challenges what they've been told. And when you're presented with any kind of new information, it takes a lot to like accept or learn more.
Which is fascinating to me because for someone who was like studied on by these regents and like mistreated, Bree still believes 100% of everything they say outside of like how they treat her. And I'm just like, Bree, ask more questions. Like, why
she needs to ask more
everything?
questions. I will say though, from just to give her some credit, like she's a young girl who is in like a terrifying situation and knows nothing. So like any kind of information she receives, I can definitely understand like a young girl just being like, oh, so that's how it works. And they're like, yeah, that's how it works.
Even in these sections, like William and Sal and even Alice, they'll be like, well, Merlins can definitely go over to the dark side if their blood takes over. And they're all like, yeah, that's what the regents told us for hundreds of years. They don't have any skin in the game of keeping powerful magicians down. Like, that's not suspect at all. And I'm always like, who's not saying that? Like, who's not like, hey, should we question this part too?
Why aren't we questioning authorities here?
Right. It boggles my mind. I'm like, someone needs to have a little bit less trust. But anyway, Bree goes to help Jonas like cook a meal. They're like making some noodles and stuff. And he kind of talks about like missing his scion or something. Like, it's a little bit weird and he's a little bit vague.
Well, because I think, was he a squire for someone?
Yes, he was a squire for someone and lost them.
They died in battle. Yes. And so he misses them a lot and he can still like feel that pain. And so he's in like, a lot of pain. And he's also like really close to the age of abatement.
Yes.
And so there's that pulling at him as well.
And so Bree goes to get something out of the pantry and a
Goracle
pops out. And it pops out so fast. Like, she like pulls accordion things and it's like, boom, like it's playing hide and seek with her. And it attacks her. And she knows like the Goracle
like grabs her on the ankles from the pantry.
Yeah. And Jonas is like,
Well, it starts talking with Jonas, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this one has more power than I thought. And
And the
Jonas is
Gorkle
like,
was like,
oh,
you said that she couldn't use ether. And he was like, she wasn't supposed to. Like, finish
I
what you're
didn't
going to
know she
do.
could do this.
And he says that he had a deal with her, and he calls her Kizia. And they're fighting. It's pretty careful. Like, Bree could pretty much get murdered, but then Cell like comes in. William comes in, and they both kind of have moments where like William is able to use his power of Gawain, and it's pretty scary because he's just like squeezing this Goracle, and they have a moment where they're like trying to get information out of Jonas
because he's got the 2 hours, right?
Yeah, he's got 2
luckily
hours.
This happened within the 2 hours that he's extremely powerful.
The Goracle chose a terrible time to play hide and seek.
Like, dude, wait till 2 a.m. when he's done with
like,
2 hours. Don't strike
at
midnight, you idiots.
Don't strike literally when she's making noodles and everyone's awake. Wait till they go to bed and then slit her throat like a normal person. Like, come on.
The attacks here, and also I need someone to explain some of these timing related rules because they're not making the most sense to me. But whatever.
And the Mesmer rules where it's like, well, she could totally break a Mesmer, except when she can't.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So anyway, the demon is like very scared of Gawain's like power. They talk something about how a broker, like, she's now afraid of Bree's power. She's like, the broker will know that I tried to control or like eat your ether, and they'll get mad because like it was agreed upon that I wouldn't do that. I was just here to like grab you and like gain information. And Jonas is like not going to tell them why he did what he did. And Alice like comes out and starts treating him like a human.
And she's like, here's the thing. I see you. I understand. Well, this is kind of how I took this, honestly, because it was so bizarre in the tone.
It was such
it was just like they
switch.
were all they were all fighting, and then all of a sudden it's just like it gets really quiet, and Alice walks out from the hallway after taking her shower, and she's like, I understand. Tell me why you feel the way that you do. And it's like, what is happening here? This is shocking. This changed so quickly.
So strange. And like,
I mean, it was fine. It makes sense for the character, but it was just such a tonal shift that I was really like, funny
because I love that she logicked this man where she's like, well, I think you're gonna die tonight anyway. So like, are you really like you're on your way out? So are you really gonna die? Just not tell us why you're doing that.
Right. Don't you want to get one final monologue in? That evil monologue?
Don't you want to say it to us? Here's some water. And Jonas is kind of like, yeah, I want the lines to die. I know
you were coughing earlier. I was paying attention to your health.
Well, and so then he kind of goes into like Wheel of Time Ishmael logic, where he's like, I just want this wheel to stop turning. I want to have all of us
goal is to break the wheel.
Yeah, like Jonas's goal is to break the wheel so that like, and they're like, but you would have let us go to the shadow. And he's like, yeah, I'm miserable here. So everyone else deserves to be miserable. And now they know that there's some broker who like wants to keep them. And also Will like murders the Gorkle, and Alice does not take it too kindly, and Jonas dies because he broke his oaths, and he had been breaking them since he accepted the Gorkle into their house. So like he had been fighting it and coughing and everything. So you get to witness a little bit of what happens.
Well, so and Alice, it's pretty brutal deaths for them. Like, so Alice is
vomiting up blood, and Alice is horrified.
He just crumbles into dust, and Alice is like, what the heck? Why aren't you guys reacting? What was going on here? Because she doesn't see the ether, so it's different for her perception of what's happening is a lot different. She's like, why is nobody helping him? What the heck is happening here? Well, and it's brutal to watch.
And it looks like the Gorkle like looks human, so it looks like William like murdered this human, and she's horrified. And they're all kind of like, he didn't, and Cell's like, he didn't deserve mercy. And the way that Cell is like, anyone who is not for us is evil. And it's like, what is your problem? You do not seem to understand that like he just drinks the Kool-Aid far too much for me. Especially when it's like, well, your mother was like affected by this and you were affected by this, but sure, totally, don't worry about it. And then Bree is injured during all this, like she is choked and everything, so William is able to like heal her a little bit but not fully,
because he's like lacking in strength too.
he's also still reeling, and like Sel calls her out on this when she goes to like help him bandage his body up so she can look at his abs and tattoos. And he's like,
he slid off his shirt somehow during all of this. And it's like, why?
And I did like when he gets stabbed and he's like, I'll heal. I'm actually more worried about my jacket. And I'm like, that was very
that seems realistic. Yeah.
But he comes to talk to her in the bathroom, and this is where he's like leaning on her
on the sink. Yep.
But he also has a moment where he like calls Bree out for not understanding the danger she puts everyone in, because everyone else has to exist to protect her at this point. And he's like, your actions have consequences. Like, Will is still reeling from not being able
the loss
to
of
help
his
you.
Squire.
And not being able to help you when you needed it, and having to drug you. Like, that made him technically like hurt his oaths, not maybe break them, but like it was painful for him.
Yes.
And you don't seem to understand like how important you are and how important everything is.
Which makes me question the oaths a little more, because I didn't realize it was this literal, where it was like, okay, so he's in pain because he isn't able to make it to Bree fast enough to help her. I don't know, but it's all up to interpretation, kind of, because if you feel that you're fulfilling your oaths, you don't have any kind of pain, which makes me like wonder, like, how does this work for people like Tor and all these other people that know that Bree is the scion and are doing stuff that are things that are not conducive to helping her. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's things I need explained.
But he, like, Sel also is like, don't worry, I'm not really breaking my oaths. Like, you don't have to be as worried, because like helping you and Will helps me and all this stuff. And they have a moment where it seems like they're about to smoochy smooch, but they don't.
Like, I would love to be close. I can't remember what it is he says, but she's like, your teeth look different. And he's like, do they? And she's like, say it. And she says, what is it about your teeth? They look different. He's like, say it I am. And she's like, vampire. And then like
and then Twilight starts. It is very Twilight-esque, but she like talks about, he's like, oh yeah, teeth look different if you're going towards your demon side, like they get harder canines. And like,
she's like, is that why adults have the different teeth? I noticed the ears aren't quite the same as the adults. And he's like, yes.
And he's whispering his entire monologue. But he also says during this moment, which is so cringe to hear a 17-year-old say this to a 16-year-old, where he hears her heartbeat uptick, because he is a vampire, and he goes, I love how I make you react.
Yeah.
If only I wasn't bad news.
And this is where I vomited as much as Alice was seeing that person die. Like, oh.
And so he, like, she tries to get him to say that she's his king again. And he's like, you remember when I said that the first time?
Tell me I'm your king. And it's like, no.
Oh, and then she leaves the room and she's like, what am I doing? Why did I try to bait him like that? I knew what I was. And
she's like all flushed, and she's like, what happened?
She's just turned on. Like, we'll call a spade a spade. She's turned on. Guess what? 16-year-olds, it happens, but it's gonna happen. Like, it's not a special feeling. You're just a little bit horny for a dark and broody boy. Like, we were all. This is a weird
turn of events, though. Like,
I know. And then Alice comes up and she's like, hey, and she's like, not near the bathroom, he can hear. And it's like, he can hear everywhere. That's like one of his big powers, is he hears everything. But they also did do a rundown of like who they can trust, and they decided like Jill and Samara they can trust, so they're going to like call them, tell them what happened, and get like more people on their parents to make sure that they're protected. So that's good. And then at one point she also does talk to Will, and she like apologizes to him for like not seeing his pain. And he's like, thank you for saying that. Like, I wasn't as close with Whitty when he died, but I still did feel it, and it was not great. Yeah. So that is a good moment. Bree also has a moment where she decides she has to learn how to use her powers. So she asks her ancestors, and she and Alice realize that a blood sacrifice is very effective for this, which is probably why she was able to dream walk when she was holding the Pendragon coin, because her blood got on it during that time.
Which is good to know that.
So she makes another blood sacrifice, and she sees Jesse again, who was one of the people And every time she uses her power, she's thinking of her mother, but every time she uses it, she's also followed by the same man that scares her and has like red eyes. And she hears the whispering in her head again, and it says, "Pain welded blade, you are the sword, our sword." And then she's kind of like, "Hey, Jesse, what did all this mean?" And Jesse's like, "I told you everything you needed to know."
It's like, did you?
I don't think you did. I think you left out many things, but
Because
okay.
I got to that point and I was like, wait, what? What did we learn?
I was like, if we have to read for 200 pages how she has to think about her mom and we're just getting a repeat lesson of the first book, I'm going to be so mad, but it wasn't that. And so she's kind of like, who was the hunter? And it's like, probably the broker you just learned about, because we just learned about him. And she calls her dad using a burner phone, and he's like, I have 2 new mechanics and they're women. And it's the 2 people who helped her escape like 2 leashes.
Yeah.
And he's
and
like,
she's like, wow, way to go. Like women in mechanics. I dig it.
I know.
That's amazing. I'm like,
and then,
okay, nobody believes you in being sincere here.
And then she walks out, and her dad's, she's like, I'm going to be busy with final stats, so I can't talk to you. And again, she's 16. That's not normal. Make your kid text you more often. It's 2023 when this book came out.
I know. Like,
she could text.
Why didn't they text in this? I guess that's a choice the author made with phones, but
yeah. But, and then Bree walks out and they're like, hey, so remember when we gave you a choice that you could go after Nick? We're taking that choice away from you and we're running because we have to keep you protected. And she had just decided, like, she just redecided that she was ready to go after Nick and fight. And then she comes out and they're like, remember what happened during the last 50 pages? Yeah, that doesn't matter. You can't do them anymore. I was like, why did we read the last 50
I don't
pages?
understand why some of the choices were made in this section.
Know.
But
it's so back and forth. And again, I get it. It's drama. It's YA.
Yeah.
But when you're reading it as an adult, you're like, so I just read the last 50 pages for nothing.
So I was like, well, okay. That was
her
some time.
decision. Cool. Okay. That's some time I will never get back. Great. So then they kind of fight with her about it, where she's like, I don't love this section because there were moments where Sel is like, you do not understand the danger you put everyone in just by existing and wanting to go after Nick.
And he's like, I would also turn that question around on you, Sel. You make everyone at risk. Like you are constantly doing risky things and kind of volatile and getting into it with people. You're like, what the heck?
And during this time, you're going to blame Bree? Like, yeah, Will and I have more experience than you, so we're more trustworthy. And it's like,
no, you're not.
From your charge for months, and like you don't look great according to 2 people, but not Bree. Yeah. And like you have all these things that show that you're not the most, like you're not at fighting weight right now, but for some reason everyone believes you, and that is
why anyone is trusting him and like going along with him and thinking that he's a good advisor at this moment is baffling.
And so she, like, again, Bree is a people pleaser. So she's like, man, I should have thought about all those things. It's like, no, you shouldn't have. Like, you seem to be doing
true.
fine.
I guess I really am the problem. And it's like, Bree,
no, you're not.
You're not.
They do decide. She was like, hey, Samara gave me this like note that I should go see Lucille. Samira, sorry, I apologize. There's so many names. Samira's like, she gave her that note and she's like, it says I should go see Lucille at this place and this place. And they look it up and it's an intersection. And they're like, how are we going to figure this out? It's just an intersection.
Like, it's a bar.
It's a bar. We're going to go to a bar. And so they have to like, they go find a basement.
Which this was kind of fun.
That is like decked out and like money, and they get to make fake IDs and they get to do all these things. So
and her name is Ramona, which immediately made me think of Parks and Rec.
Oh,
what's your middle name? Ramona.
Ew.
But it was Roberta in the show, I know.
Yeah, it was Roberta.
So, but Ramona made me think of that. I don't know why.
And then like Sel comes in and gives he gives like a speech about where she's like, are you sure you could like choose between Nick and I? And he's like, there is no choice. And like just says something really random. And then she goes, he's
like, I've already tried to kill you, so it wouldn't be that hard of a choice for me. Like, okay.
Right. And then she goes, some speech? Did you practice that? And he goes, well, I was a classics major. I'm like, I just threw up a little bit in my mouth.
Yeah.
Like, no, thank you.
Can't handle it.
And so they start driving towards this crossroads place. They start driving towards this address. It ends up being called the Crossroads. but it's out in Georgia. They stop at a gas station, and Alice and Bria refuse service. And again,
well, they just need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, they just need to go to the bathroom.
And they give like these, there's these two guys there. They give William the key and he's able to go use the bathroom. And then William tries to give it to them, and it's intercepted by these two guys who are then like, oh, bathroom's out of order now.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait a minute, it was just fine. And they're like, no, it's not working for them.
It's not working for them. Like it just so happened. And this is like, again, Will's privilege starts showing because he like wants to fight, and the girls are like, we are not in the position to do that.
No,
please
we need
do
to
not draw attention. And like Bree is quick to be like, he could have a gun, he could have this, and Alice is always ready to back Bree up. So she's like, I'm not going to put my best friend in a dangerous situation. We are in Georgia on the back roads. And then Sal comes in and they're like, what's wrong with your eyes? Are you that some kind of goth kid? Yeah. And Sal's like, everyone, we need to leave. And he gets Will to leave, which also sucks because it's just like white men only listen to white men. Because the girls have been begging Will to leave and he's not listening because he's like, let my friends use the bathroom. And they're like, Will, can you like not do that?
Because like, do we have a problem here? What's the deal? Like, why can't they use the bathroom? And it's like, okay, it's because of racism. So let's just protect ourselves and not get into an altercation that could kill us.
Right. And so Sal walks in and he's like, we need to leave. I said that already, but he gets them out and he's like, yeah, they had a gun in there and we can't like afford to have the cops called on us. And Will's like, I didn't know. And it's like, Will,
think about it. It's a gas station.
And so they keep driving. They find out it's a bar called the Crossroads that they're headed to, and they like see some people entering. Sal immediately was like, no one's going in there, it's unsafe, I'm bad news. And they're all like,
I'm bad news.
And they're like, well, we have to go in because we have to find this Lucille character. And then this bouncer like appears out of thin air and he's like, do you want inside? I need to see your ID. And it's like, it's not an actual ID, it's like some kind of magical member number. And he's like, well, if you don't have a member number, you get a guest pass. And he like puts it on their skin, and Sal is like, absolutely like, not,
that's not happening.
And he's like, well, it's happening if you want in.
Having that if you're going in there. So
they head in and they like think it's a once born bar, but it's not. Like there's some different stuff going on. They serve children underage beers.
Like the way that Bree and Alice so many times throughout this like chapter are saying, oh my gosh, well, we're underage, you can't drink. Like, no one cares in this place. You obviously can do whatever because drinking underage is the least of the crimes being committed here
in this establishment. Like, this is also a weird moment where Bree like looks at what Alice is wearing and then looks at what she's wearing, and she has cleavage, the horror. And she's like,
oh my gosh, I can't believe I put this top on. And they're like, you look great.
Alice is like, your boobs look amazing. And Will's like, she looks fantastic. And then
they're like, Sal, how do you think she looks? Which, why would they ask him, first of all? That annoyed me.
Just like, this was where I was, this was the moment where I was like, yeah, this is a bunch of 16-year-olds taking a road trip together where they're like goading Sal into like, what do you think about what she's wearing, you hetero man and hetero woman?
We need to have the love interest's opinion here. And then he's like,
look nice. And
Alice is like, then she's instantly like, just nice. I only look nice to you. Like, okay, what?
Yeah. And then
that's quite a reaction.
Is again being the worst fucking human on the planet, and he's like, "Where's the service in this bar? I'm gonna give it a bad review on Yelp."
He's like, "I'm going. If I had my cell phone, I would totally give a 1-star review on Yelp. Like, never go here."
But the lady goes and gets them a couple beers, and she brings Sal this like shot that has ether in it, and she's like,
yeah,
hey, honey, this will take the edge off. And Will is like, hey, that could actually help you. And then they have a very confusing world building moment where I'm like, I still don't quite understand what's going on, where they're like, well, demons have to feed off emotions and that's what takes to sustain them. And so you have to be careful when you do that because it like helps satiate a hunger that is like almost unending. So it doesn't really count. But like ether helps make them feel fulfilled. And so, you know, if you drink ether, it may help you. And Stella's like, I'm good. I'm not going to drink ether.
I don't need it.
I'm different. I'm bad news.
I don't have to do that. I just suffer.
And so then the girls are like, we both have to pee still because we haven't peed for 2 hours. So I was like, why haven't
Which
they
how
pulled
they
over?
held it for 2 hours.
I know.
I
I'm
guess
like,
this
how
is
did
the
they
big
not?
difference between young women and women my age, because I
I
could not hold it
know.
for 2 hours.
Because like I would have
God.
peed on the side of the road. I would have
I would
peed.
just went back behind that gas station and
You
peed.
know,
Like,
exactly. I
no
would have been like,
way.
I'm gonna pee on your wall. I do not give a shit.
Okay, we
But
can't pee inside. All right, we're
um,
leaving.
and so they have to go down these hallways that say respite, desires, delight. And they're like, which one's the bathroom in? Which I do like because
Yeah, that was funny.
that is difficult. And so they go down respite, and Alice has to go into the bathroom, and Bree's out there with Cell, and he's like, hey, even though I'm bad news, like I could tell you what you look like, and you look delectable.
Devourable.
I thought he said, oh yeah, he said you look
Devourable,
devourable.
which is
Um,
disgusting.
and
Like,
he does
oh,
mumble it, so our voices are canon.
yes.
And
Actually, the way that the audiobook does his voice is kind of like a, well, he sounds like this, and
you are devourable.
yeah,
He's
kind of
just
like,
Batman.
yeah, kind of like Batman-ish. So, yeah.
And so Cell is like flirting with her, and she's like, oh my gosh, I am horny for him. And then she goes pees, and Alice and Cell are like arguing because they see that there is a broker slash proprietor sign on the door, so that means that the broker is they or owns the establishment.
Yeah.
And Cell's like, we need to leave immediately. And then he wants to run out on their tab, and they're like, hey, can we not draw attention, and could you
No,
just
we're
pay the
gonna just
tab?
pay.
Which again is the easiest thing you could possibly do.
This is what I
And
mean, where
then
he's like, Bree, you're always causing problems. It's like, Cell, you are the one causing problems.
and so he he gets in a fight where he tries to cut in line to pay a tab, and it's like you could have just tried to act normally, and that makes you less noticeable, because then you get into a bar fight with the bartender who's
And
like
he's so overly sensitive about things too.
I know, and he's like screaming at this bartender who's like, you're a warlock and you're disgusting. And the warlock is like, say that again. And then Bree steps
Warlock
in.
who's disgusting. It's like, what is wrong with you?
And like there was a performance where the women like came out of thin air, and they were called like the Morgeese or something. It was very specific. But and also not enough of a red flag for them, where they're like, the line of Morgaine exists, and they're like, oh, these Morgeese women. And it's like,
yeah,
one of you guys be concerned about that? One of you,
that
please.
sounds topical. Okay.
Yeah, like could someone be more concerned? But no, we're just gonna learn that Cell gets to scream at a warlock for being dirty and smelly. And then Bree is like, oh, he is dirty and smelly. And it's like, what the fuck? So anyway, Bree steps in to like stop the warlock from using his magic against Cell, because Cell has his iron cuffs on him. And her root reacts, and it like it's a huge red flame that like takes away all of the warlock's powers and like makes him look like a little bit more shrimpy than he did before.
Yeah.
And then this guy comes in, and he's like, what a great show, everyone. These powers are being previewed in case you want them at a later date. And
to which I was like, what?
And she's like, oh God, he's covering up the truth. And then he's like, everyone smile, everyone smile.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Introduces himself as Valak. And he's like, both of you violated the rules of the establishment. Because when they came in, they got like they got their badges, and then it was like, well, you are in, you'll not start any fights, you'll not use illegal magic. Do you have any magic to announce? And they're all like, no. And it's like, well, that's a bad idea, but okay.
Yeah, why lie about that? But okay.
And they're like, so they violated the rules. So Valak is like, I'll take you upstairs, and they both black out, and then they black in like an office.
And he's like popping up all over the place, and they can't pin him down.
Yeah, and
Cell's like still resorting to violence.
And he finds out that it's Selwyn Kane, and he's like, where's your Scion of Arthur, Cell? And they're all like, oh good. He doesn't know that it's Bree, but like also we're in a place with like rogue magic, so Bree is in danger.
But then he's like, I wish that your Scion would come, because I would have killed him myself right here. Like, okay, wow.
Yeah, like weird choice. And so he talks about like how Alonso is overdressed since Bree took away all of the power, and he'll have to like figure out how to punish her. And then Cell is like, let Bree leave, let all of them leave. and like, you can just take out your anger on me. I'm self-sacrificing because I'm bad news. And it's just like, the guy's like, no, because I figured out that the best way to harm you is to
punish her.
And so then he's like, don't you lay a hand on her. And then he's like, I'm not going to punish her
Proven.
physically. I'm going to punish her emotionally. Look at what Sel looks like right now.
And she's like, what?
So
and
this
she's
is
like, you lied to me?
This is Laura and I riffing pretty hard. But like, he says that Sel has been using a mesmer and he's going to rip that to shreds. And so he does. And we find out that Sel isn't doing too well.
He looks terrible.
He looks like shit. So when Alice was like, man, he looks like shit,
she was not lying.
Believed her. And Bree moment where she's like beating herself up, where she's like, how could I have not known that this was how he looked like? And like, they kept telling me, and it's like, Mr. Snowman, you ignored all the signs moment. And
yeah,
we find out that Sel, even though he doesn't have any powers, was able to mesmer her to make himself
which
look
I was confused by. I don't know how he was able to mesmer. I get it that there's definitely an era of in this book where it's like, we'll just explain this away with he's the most powerful there ever was.
And he can use some powers, but not all. Like, he can't pull ether, but mesmering is different than ether, I guess. So he was still able to. But
I was still like, I thought Bree was kind of like not able to be mesmered.
Exactly.
So I was like, okay, whatever.
This timeline, I guess totally holds up.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things, like I said, we're kind of just explaining some things away with
there's a lot of hand
waving. The most powerful there ever was.
And it's like, just wanted to see it. And
Bree just wanting to believe it.
And Bree is like horrified because, again, a huge thing with Bree is consent, which it should be for everyone. Yeah. But it's like, you like took away my choice to see what was going on with you and she's like crying and like, how could you? And Valak is like, I am very uninterested in this conversation.
Same. I was also like, okay, you're missing the point here because this is I don't know. This whole thing was
then he was like, I gave you the pain, so I will give you a shot of ether to keep you tied over and send you on your way, sir. But you, Bree, you have to give me some information. And he's like obsessed with like
will be, and he's hitting on her too much.
I know. And he's like, hey, like, who did you make this deal with to make you that powerful? Like, and she's like, no one. And both she Seller like, no one made me this powerful, I just am. And he's like, liar, I'm going to now kill you if you don't tell me something.
If you don't tell me who made this deal, you're dead.
Bueno, you didn't hear this from me. But some little birdie told me that you got your powers from this demon. No mentira. So apologies for my horrible Spanish. So he's like, you're going to tell me something. And he takes her to the roof. I also loved this.
Which was weird. I didn't know that was an
last call. We're going to the roof. And I'm like, who was down at the bar being like, everyone upstairs. We're going to see him.
Yes, when we get up there, Everyone's like, this was bad enough, but it made it worse because there was an audience. And I'm like, an audience? What the heck? Why did we congregate up there?
And so he like, there's like an audience up on the roof, and he's like, because she stole this person's powers, we get to have a death or a deal. Are you gonna make a death or deal? And everyone starts chanting like it's a game show. Death or deal.
I know, it's like Jerry Springer practically.
And so like Bree is scared, and she's like, I can't tell him how I got my powers. I can't tell him I'm the scion on Arthur. I don't know what to do. And Alice is like, hey, I have some tea for you.
Like, I will volunteer a deal. You let my friends go, and I tell you about your waitresses who are stealing from you because they stuff the ether in their cleavage. And it's like, okay.
And she like whispers it to him, and he's like, softly now. And so it's just a bunch of people standing on a roof with Alice being like, you didn't hear this from me.
And a little bit softer now. And a little bit softer now.
He does go softer now.
A little bit louder now.
I cannot wait to see the movie version of this happen.
Yes.
And he's
so
like,
many comical moments in this book.
it's like, what a great deal. You guys are free to go. And she made a promise to take them to Lucille. And so he's like, everyone disperse. And everyone's like, oh, shucks, I wanted to see a death or a deal.
Really wanted to see her thrown off the roof.
And they're like, hey, are you okay? And she's like, Bree's like, yeah, I guess so, because I have to be, because I always have to be okay through some of the most
I
dramatic
don't have
shit.
a choice because I have to immediately rebound
like,
from any kind of trauma.
Why didn't any of you guys tell me that Sal looked like shit? They're both like, we did tell you.
Like, we
that
said it several times,
secret.
and you were just like, quit saying that about his appearance. And we were just like okay, that. Whatever.
And so, yeah. And then they have a moment where they're like, oh, that's why it's called the Crossroads, because like that's where you meet the devil, and this is where
it's a blues song callback, or not callback, a shout out to a blues song.
Yeah, about like a man who wants to be
makes
the best
deal
guitar
with the devil
player and makes a deal with the devil
at the crossroads. And Valak's like, that was one of my best deals I ever made.
And they're like, so you're the devil? And he's
you're
like,
the devil?
No, I just like the story. We also I blazed past this very important plot point. They were very concerned about the broker when the Gorkle attacked them. And then they were like very scared of Valak. And then they find out that there are many brokers. He's just one of them. He's one of many. And he's like, I don't make deals about killing people. I make deals about music. Which that for him.
Okay, like that's interesting.
Oh, and while he was on the roof, there was also a moment where a Senator Anderson popped up on the roof and he was like,
wow, weird thing.
I forgot about it until this particular moment.
I'm so glad you mentioned it because I totally forgot. How weird.
Where like they're telling Bree that she might die, and then they have a break in it where like a lady comes up with Senator Anderson for some reason, and Senator Anderson,
like, don't interrupt. We're in the middle of something. He's like, it's really important, and he's like, no, don't interrupt. And he's like, look, we made a deal, and I'm rich now, but I can't get any sleep, and I'm gonna die. And he's like, well, you should have thought about that.
He didn't make a deal with Valak. He made a deal with another demon that he did by himself. And then he's like, Valak, can't you like speak up on my behalf? And Valak is like, you decided to do that on your own. Like, I don't make those kind of deals. I would have stopped you. But like, and we found out that he signed away 5 years of his life and he didn't read the fine print.
He was thinking it would just be like, oh, when I turn 85, then you get the next 5 years and then I'll be dead. And it's like,
and the demon decided to take 5 years of his sleeping life because of the fine print. And so he can't sleep anymore. So he's like going to die if he continues like this. And the guy's like, that's what demons do. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
They are tricksters. But anyway, Valak is just very into the arts. So he doesn't make those types
He's
of
like,
deals.
Here's the thing. If you needed a piccolo or saxophone of some sort, we could have made a deal, but you decided to be a senator.
I just wanted to be on Broadway, guys. And now I want to make sure everyone else gets those wishes. So he takes them to meet Lucille and he's like, hello, niece. And they're like, how old are you? And he's like, 205.
To which I was like, don't flirt with 16-year-olds. That is wildly inappropriate.
But also just the most YA thing of anything where like Bree walks in the room and looks over and she's like, Mariah? It's like Mariah.
That was weird too. And I was like, why is she there?
Like,
she's like, oh yeah, I'm just hanging out with my aunt. And like, okay.
And then they're like, hey, are you related to Valak? And she's like, not like that. It's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean
what
like,
does
do you mean like she's your aunt, like cultural aunt, or do you mean like it's on the other side of the family? I was so confused.
This was weird.
I was very confused by that. But she and Bree are like, oh my gosh, we should definitely catch up right now. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't. So many more important things are going on. And Bree tells Lucille, like, oh, Samira sent me. And she's like, I can't believe she sent like a Merlin to me. And they're like, oh, don't worry. They're like, we're fugitives from the order. And so they've been keeping a secret until they're like, no more secrets. Here's every little bit of information you wanted to know, except for the Scion of Arthur part. But she's like, Bree's like, I need to learn how to use my powers. Like there's a hunter who's kind of after me, so I have to be careful. And Lucille's like, okay, I will totally help you if you like if you exchange like certain things of making sure that you will help destroy the hunter, because the hunter is like out and about and we must stop him. And Valak is like, I think she has the power, niece of mine. So then they
And
take
Bree's like, how did you know that I use rootcraft? And he said, you just answered.
I kind of like Valak, except for the whole like hitting on 16-year-olds as a
Yeah.
200-year-old being. But I like that he's just like a musician demon guy.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'll just make some deals.
Honestly,
Oh,
this whole bar thing was so random and like so many of the things didn't like totally mesh for me. But at the same time, I was like, I'm digging
I'm
it.
having a good time. Like I'm having a good. Does it make sense? No.
Obviously, there's a lot of plot holes, but I'm just, I'm digging it.
Look, but I will fall through any hole as long as I get to hear about this like random
Yes.
ass like bar scene. Well, we also find out that Valak is technically a Merlin, so but he is an unbound Merlin, so he didn't make any of his oaths,
Yes.
and he keeps talking pretty derogatorily about Cell and how he's like locked into this and
And the
how
Legendborn.
yeah, and the Legendborn as a whole and how they like kind of ruin things and they just like keep tabs in a way that is really unproductive. And since he is a Merlin who's over 200 years old, that also says something about not trusting this whole like giving over
Yeah.
to your demon side.
And he's kind of saying, oh, he's kind of like questioning their whole system. Like, really, you're still buying into that? Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds like how they would have you react to this. Okay,
Yeah.
right, fine.
Well, and then Bree and Mariah like get into the car together to catch up, which I was like, really? Like
Weird.
Sal and William take a different car and Alice is there and then Valak comes in and it's like pointed out that he's only there because he's messy. Like he's just nosy.
I know.
And but Bree's not like, get out. She's like, okay, you can be messy around me. Like, Bree, no.
No.
And so then they find out like he's like, yeah, I'm pretty old. Like I was cast out as a baby. And he was like, my mother was like, but it's a very different look at things because like he is a black man and he's like, hey, I was cast out by my mother, but like she didn't know better. She had just been seduced by an incubus. Like to her, that was the only way. And she was a slave. So like she had no other option. She just had to do what was safest for her and being
And
bound.
then Bree's like, oh, yeah, I know your mom.
Yeah, and she's like, was her name Pearl? And he's like, yeah, how'd you know?
Weird,
and she's like,
yeah.
I went on a dream walk. And he's like, with Patricia?
Damn you, Patricia.
Damn you, Patricia. And he's like, she was my terrible therapist. No, he doesn't say that. But
she was my therapist for a week and then she fired me. Now I'm here.
But he's like, no, I don't blame my mom. It's fine. Like, yeah, cool. You got to see her in my beginnings. Nice to see ya again. And so then they talk about going to this like a conductor named Miss Hazel, who is Lou's partner. And they have like stations, conductors, and stops. And Alice is like, is this like an underground railroad thing? And they're like, well, kind of inspired by it, but like no one knows all the stops, but like we use it to keep people protected because like we are a Black community and that was a very important part of our history. And we still need to keep ourselves safe from the likes of others. So they go and they just eat dinner with Miss Hazel, which I also enjoyed, where it's just like, we ate and Sal like is it allowed in her kitchen, which isn't nice. You should never like hate a 16-year-old. But like
here's the thing, I hate him in this moment because I'm just like, I'm so sick of him. We can't handle him in your kitchen. Can he please stay outside?
So he like goes on a raid and he just like starts running around everywhere because he still has his
he's like,
which is
I'm gonna go and secure everything, secure the border.
Again, certain parts of this book, I'm like, if you're watching this happen in real time, you're like, is this seriously what's happening? This man is just running around
like stomping around, occasionally in owl form,
running half a mile like quickly. And at one point, Miss Hazel is like, "Do we trust that Merlin?" He goes, "I mean, I trust him with my life." And she goes,
"I trust him with my life." Here's the thing: he's a genuinely wonderful person who I love dearly that's tried to kill me. And it's like, okay.
And Miss Hazel is like, fine, I'll make him a plate. And I'm like, go, Miss Hazel. Like,
what?
And so the next day, again, I do like that Deonn has like moments where Bree, Mariah, and Alice like all converge and have a moment where they're like just doing Bree's hair and like chit-chatting about her messy love life. So they talk about like ways to do Bree's hair and they get it done. And then she goes outside and Valak has just been watching Cell run, which is also hilarious.
And he's just like, man, kid's actually pretty good.
And he kind of talks about like, you know, Cell seems to really say what he means. And he like, you don't seem to see what's going on between you two. It's kind of like that moment where it's like,
he's like, what is the situation there? Because I'm interested. I'm 200, but I'm interested if he's not. Okay, stop.
And she's like, I can't forgive him for hiding things from me. And he's like, people hide things for different reasons, Brie. And she's like, good point.
Here's the thing, where
really?
she's so mad about the mesmer of his appearance, but she's conveniently forgetting the, I tried to kill you multiple times thing.
Even though he keeps yelling it at her, saying, bad
I
news.
know.
So Valak tells her where to go, and she like goes. Sal's just up in a tree, and she's like, hey, I need to talk to you. And he like jumps down
like a cat.
And he's like, well, I violated our trust and our friendship, but I'm really sorry. And he's like, I've been beating myself up over trying to murder you. And she's like, I don't care about that anymore.
You need to care about that a little more, please.
And he's like, well, it's my duty to not be cruel. And I can't believe I did that to you. And she was like, you had every right. And it's like, okay,
you did not have every right.
He was doing this to a Black woman, so he should have known better. But he also has this moment of like, now that I know you, I could never think you were evil. And it's like, that's not the reason you should have known better. That's not the reason, sir. Like, no. And he also talks about like how he's trying to make it up to Nick. And I hated this part.
This was bad.
Where he's like, so Nick and I share feelings. So when he's in pain, I'm in pain. And when I want to murder people, he wants to murder people. So
he can feel it. When I was trying to murder you, he was also angry.
To murder you. And so then he punched me in the face, and he had a right to do that. And it's like, did he?
What a weird situation, Sal.
And she's like, hey, it's not okay to like answer in violence. And he's like, you don't understand. We were always vying for his father's love. And it's like, this is a weird moment.
We knew that we had to fight for daddy's love.
And then she has a moment where she's like, hey, all those times you were hitting on me, was that part of the mesmer? And he was like, I never mesmered the things I said to you.
Puke.
I hate this part.
Just puke.
And he's like, I just feel connection to you. And there are moments between us. And then they are about to smoochy smooch pretty much. And have a moment where they speak, but then she walks away.
I will say though, throughout all this, we're saying puke and everything. She does seem genuinely more interested and attracted to Sel than she has ever been to Nick.
Yes, it seems like there's something going on between these two, and that happens.
And her and Nick just have kind of like a friendship type thing
where they both kiss, and she's always like, I'm thinking about his kiss. And it's like, but are you? Because you're never thinking about him when he's not directly in front of you. Like, it's never happening. And so I don't know. She decides to have like another blood thing. And there was a moment where earlier in this section, Sel feels Nick in danger and it passes really quick, and she tries to have a blood.
Well, he has like a big jolt where he's like, oh,
yeah.
And she's like, oh, Nick's
and so she tries to use the blood right to like go see Nick in a memory. Arthur's just like so much because Arthur goes, you can't just use me like you want to, and slams the door on her, and she's like, that didn't work. I liked that moment. That was very funny. But anyway, she decides to like go into her memories again to kind of figure things out. She goes into a memory of Arthur, and she's like, this is what he wants me to see, but she also wants to see Nicky Poo, so she brings him in. And she's like, are you okay? And he was like, it was the mage guard, like Isaac stopped them, we're running. And they kind of chit chat about how Sel's not doing well, how he mesmered her. And then they just like, it's the most boring conversation ever. It's just them like running down what's been happening. And then they like go into the memory of Arthur and they see what's going on. And it's like, we got to experience it like it was our memory.
The first time they were able to use their power.
And she's like, wow, Arthur's so powerful. So she and Nick are like, it's just us now. Like, that was beautiful. Like, look at how pure this was. And like, it's all run down to where we are. Like, this is, and it's just, I don't know. It's fine. But then
it wasn't that special.
It wasn't that special. But then suddenly Nick is like, I'm in danger. We're at the cabin. Then he disappears. And Bree wakes up and like Sel's in pain. And they're like, we have to go. He's at the cabin. And they're like, okay, we'll go now. And then he finds out that we find out that the cabin is like Nick's mom's place that was left in his name. And she's like, Nick's mom literally doesn't remember him. How's that true? And he's like, well, the family stayed close to Nick because they wanted to like stay near power, and they were the Davises, so it was important. And she's like, well, that's morbid. And then we also find out that Tacitus is the one who changed Nick's mother's memory. Also, while she was like having the blood right, part of her hair turned gray. And he's like, how much power were you using? And she was like, that's important to my hair color. And so she kind of is like, yeah, Nick and I had a memory. And he's like, after you left me? And she's like, yeah. And they have to drive for an hour. So they drive to the cabin. Sal's like, don't worry, we have time. I know where we're going.
Where was the cabin again? I can't remember.
It was like up in a mountain area that was like an hour away. And so they go there and he's like, don't worry, we have time. I know where it is. And he like runs through the woods with her piggyback style.
Yes.
And they don't have time because all of the mages are at the house.
Yeah.
It's just, I hated how he was like, we have enough time. We did not have enough time. Like, Isaac blows up the cabin to like take out everyone. And Fitz is there. He gets like blown up by Isaac pretty much. He's injured, and Isaac starts strangling a girl, and they just kind of have to sit there and watch it happen because they're in a dangerous area. And then Erebus comes out and he's like, you can't hold this all off forever. And he has Max there, his right-hand man. And this is a very sad, but also very quick scene, so apologies. But Erebus and Isaac are fighting. Isaac loses a little bit of like focus, and then Max takes a swing for Nick's dad, and he kills Nick's dad. And Nick pulls in ether, builds up his armor and his 2 swords, and he beheads Max. And then everything is like still falling to shit. Like Isaac is still fighting with Erebus, and Nick has a moment where he sees Sel and Bree, and he could go to them, and he instead runs away. And
well, he's mortified.
Yeah.
And he reacted in like anger,
rage. And they talk about how like it wasn't self-defense, it was revenge. And like they do have moments where they're kind of talking about it, how it's just like a reaction. But there is that moment where it's like Nick fundamentally, and we'll talk about this, like seems like a character who wants to be selfless, but everything was always built for him, so he is not capable of doing that. Which sucks. Where it's like he knows Sel is in pain. She just told him that. He knows Bree is in pain, but he can't face up to him having a reaction or face up to the consequences of his actions. He runs, and that's not okay.
And this was Max Zhao, right? If I'm remembering.
Yes, it was Max Zhao. And so Sel's kind of like, hey, we have to go. We have to run. Like Erebus is gonna, Erebus is going to come after us. He's going to sense that we're there. And they go to run, but they realize that he found their car. And so they run, they like jump up onto the top of this place, and they're being very silent. But then Bree breathes, and of course Merlins have bat-like hearing, so they're surrounded.
What are they supposed to do? Not breathe?
I know, they're surrounded by ether, and Bree has a moment where she's like, I can use my powers. I can use my powers. I can do this. I can do this. And she starts finally using root. Like she's trying to think of her mother. It doesn't work. And then she's like thinking about the choice she has and the power she has, and it starts to work. And then she explodes Sel's cuffs, the cuffs that were inexplodable, even though he could still mesmer and run fast and do everything he could except for use ether with this. And that brings us to the end.
Together.
They explode together.
Not to the end. To the end of 40.
To the end of 40. And next week we're doing 40 through
the
60. So can't
Which
wait.
We're at like 70 something percent. So
we're at 71%. So guys, 29% of this book left. We just spoke for so long, but mostly about Miley Cyrus. So and that'll be like the end until the next book comes out in 2025, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, I'm enjoying this series. I mean, Laura and I make so much fun of it because it is children and we are 30-year-old women.
But this is an excellent YA series.
Yeah, there's so much to it. I just think this middle section was lacking a little bit because it was mostly about the men, and I don't give a flying rat's ass about these men.
Do not care about Sel and Nick too much. I feel like Bree needs to stand up for herself a little more and know her worth, which is hard to say. But
guys, please follow along for more. And, if you're feeling generous, please sign up for our Patreon if you are so willing and have the capability. We have $1 tiers, $3 tiers, $5 and $10 tiers. We have kind of revamped it a little bit. So the $1 tier is kind of like a thank you, or,
just to support.
Yeah.
And so are able.
And in other news, I was jumping straight into here's where to find us, but we have our winner of Indie Mission.
Yay!
Indie Mission 5. Guys, this was a ton of work, and we appreciate every single author who participates in Indie Mission.
Yes.
We mentioned it last week. We may not be able to do the same thing every time, but we have talked to authors throughout it, and they really, a lot of them do appreciate the rounds and the voting, because it helps highlight their books for quite a few days. And this Indie Mission was no different. It was really great. We had some amazing authors participate.
There was really good participation this year, the most votes we've had in any Indie Mission, really. It was phenomenal.
And it was really great to see, because our final matchup was two people who were really polling. They really were hugely active. And they're people who we've interacted with for a really long time.
Quite a while.
Danny
They've been
Finn
really supportive of us.
And Brian S. Glosmeyer. Both of them have been wonderful to us. We've interacted with Brian on Instagram a ton. Laura read his book that we're covering, so she gets a little bit of a break, which is nice.
I got a little bit of a head start.
And Danny Finn was the other author who was in the final round. They're amazing. They're going to be in a bonus episode with us soon. It has already been recorded. It was on Queer Romance. It was a ton of fun. Yeah. And both of them are
with them.
Some amazing shining stars. They're just so kind. They're so great. So it was really amazing to see them. Both,
and they were supportive of each other too, which was great. It was never you're going down, I hate your guts type thing. They were very much it's the finals, it's not over yet. And I really appreciated that it was never a malicious type intent.
I don't think we've ever had someone who's you're going down, but we have had people who go hard for their books, and that's good too, because we understand that we always say if you can't participate in one because you're just not feeling up to watch votes come in for your book, we totally get that. Yeah, our entire goal with this is to really bolster,
to highlight indie authors.
Yes, and we just want to do that in the best way we can. So we're always willing to hear if people have different feelings or different opinions on how these things are run. We
understand if you have suggestions on ways to do this going forward, we would appreciate the feedback. We're again, two people who have other jobs and are doing this on the side. So Hannah does most of the work with this, and she has a day job. So
and it's not a perfect system. Sometimes my voting gets up later. Sometimes votes don't get recorded on Instagram. That all sucks, and we recognize it. But at the end of the day, we are an indie podcast covering indie authors.
We don't get that much. We have our Patreon supporters, but we don't have that many Patreon supporters. So this is just two people who are just trying to highlight some indie authors, gives people some support. And we recognize it's not a perfect system. We wish we could do more, but there's only so much we can do.
And there's only so much we can do as people who we cover one book a month for a reason, because we can't cover a million books. We're not a podcast that covers a different book each time. We are one who is we're going to do what we do slowly so that we can have different things going on with us. So of course, indie authors do a lot of the legwork themselves. So our hope is to just get other people to have different books on their radar. After this last indie mission, I have a new sheet with all of the indie authors who would like to potentially be a part of it. That is public. People can see people who have been added to that list. So if you ever want that list to look at different indie authors, I usually tell the book, the genre, and the page count on it. So you can just look and see what type of book you're interested in the moment, and pull one off that list just as much, because those help just as much as us doing this indie mission where we end up reading one book. So thank you to all of them who participated.
And congrats to Before the Shattered Gates of Heaven.
I know Laura really liked that book, so I can't wait to read it.
It's a good book.
We will be hosting a giveaway for it soon. We're still coordinating with that. That's, something we do each time. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to having Brian on the podcast, because he should be coming on at the end of Indie Mission, which is always a great time. We love having that. So thank you so much. follow all the authors. Look at the blog post that has
follow
the books
authors
on there.
Check out the other books too.
Check out the other books. Go buy them. Read some on Kindle. Like a lot of times they have sales. Obviously, you should pay full price because these people are doing all the work themselves. But
a lot of them are on Kindle Unlimited, or you can request at your library, which is a great way to get somebody else to buy the book.
Exactly.
If you don't have the funds.
Do both of those things, do all of those things, do what you are able to. And, rate, review, and subscribe to our pod. It does help. Like we said,
it helps us, so then we can get the word out about other books.
Yes, that is our hope. We would love to do this full time one day, or have maybe
when we're doing this full time, we have no excuses. But right now we have jobs.
But right now we have
jobs.
Laura has 3 jobs
excuse.
and like goats who are about to kids. So like we're just
being poor people. Is rough. So we don't have time to have a perfectly
planning a wedding.
I
have a new house. Like it's crazy. So we're doing our best, but we hope everyone understands, and we hope that all of the authors had a good time.
All of it's just supposed to be fun, and it's a way for people to kind of learn more about other indie books, or just maybe see them a little more.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. And please join us next week to cover up the final
all of us on all the places, though. All the social
we have all the social things. Our pod, OWWR pod. We can be found. We're out there, guys.
And everywhere. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
And we're really excited. This has been a short season, but it's been tons of fun. Bye.
Bye.